The city of Lagos hummed with its usual energy, a chaotic symphony of car horns, street vendors, and the distant sounds of Afrobeat tunes. For Edeora, it was a city of contradictions, where dreams thrived and crumbled all at once. Edeora turned 30 that morning, and the milestone felt like a cruel joke. Every birthday reminded her of the love she craved but never found. As a teenager, she had fantasized about the kind of love her parents shared, deep, tender, and unwavering. Her father, Chief Chukwudi, adored her mother, Lady Ifeoma, in ways that seemed almost mythical. He often held her hand as they walked into church, whispered sweet nothings at family gatherings, and brought her thoughtful gifts that always made her smile. To Edeora, they were perfect, the epitome of love, the standard she had set for herself. But life had been unkind in love. Each relationship she ventured into ended in heartbreak. There was Emeka, the charming banker who turned out to be married, Ayo, the sweet talker who ghosted her when she started dreaming of marriage, and even Tond, who broke her heart with the cruel honesty that he simply didn't love her back. Each failed relationship gnawed at her self-worth, feeding a dark pit of jealousy and despair. Despite Adeora's struggles, Lady Ifeoma remained her steadfast confidant. She would often sit Edeora down in the plush living room of their Lekki mansion, her gentle voice cutting through the younger woman's tears. "My daughter," she'd say, "love will come to you when you least expect it. Don't let desperation make you settle for less than you deserve." But Edeora wasn't consoled. Instead, her mother's words began to feel like salt on an open wound. How could Ifeoma understand her pain when she had a husband who worshipped the ground she walked on? Edeora found herself watching her parents more closely. She envied the way her father's eyes lit up when her mother entered the room, the way they seemed to speak a language of their own with glances alone. The envy turned bitter, a creeping resentment that settled deep in Adeora's heart. One fateful evening, as Edeora sat alone in her room scrolling through social media posts of friends flaunting engagement rings and wedding pictures, she felt something snap within her. The loneliness was unbearable, but the jealousy was worse. Why should she have it all? Edeora whispered, her voice trembling with a mix of anger and sorrow. Why does she get the love I can never have? Her thoughts spiraled, dark and unrelenting. She didn't just envy her mother, she hated her for being the woman her father loved. The idea began as a whisper in her mind but grew louder with each passing day. If her mother were gone, she could take her place. The night was unusually quiet. The harmattan wind rustled the trees as Edeora crept into the kitchen and retrieved a small bottle of rat poison. Her hands shook as she poured the substance into her mother's evening tea. Lady Ifeoma, unsuspecting and trusting, sipped the tea as she always did. Within hours, she was writhing in pain, her cries echoing through the mansion. Despite the best efforts of doctors, she passed away before dawn. Edeora played the grieving daughter to perfection, sobbing at the funeral and clinging to her father for comfort. Chief Chukwudi was devastated, but in his grief, he leaned heavily on his daughter, grateful for her support. With Ifeoma gone, Edeora began her subtle campaign to fill her mother's shoes. She cooked her father's meals, laughed at his jokes, and even bought him gifts. To an outsider, it might have seemed like a daughter's devotion, but to Edeora, it was the realization of a twisted dream. It wasn't long before Chief Chukwudi began to see Edeora as more than just his daughter. Blinded by grief and loneliness, he allowed himself to be drawn into her web. Their relationship turned into something unnatural, something Edeora had long fantasized about but never truly understood. Adeora's victory was short-lived. Soon after moving into her mother's bedroom, she began to hear whispers at night. At first, they were faint, like the rustling of leaves, but they grew louder, unmistakable. "Why, Edeora?" the voice would hiss. "Why did you betray me?" Adeora's nights became sleepless, her days haunted by visions of her mother. She would see Ifeoma's face in mirrors, her reflection staring back with hollow eyes. The torment escalated, and Edeora found herself unable to eat or sleep. Chief Chokudi noticed the change in his daughter but chalked it up to grief. He had no idea of the storm raging within her. The torment took its toll. Edeora became paranoid, jumping at shadows and muttering to herself. She stopped leaving the house, afraid that her mother's spirit might follow her into the world outside. One night, she dreamt of Ifeoma standing at the foot of her bed, her face pale and her eyes filled with sorrow. "You stole what wasn't yours, Edeora," the apparition said. "But love cannot be forced. It will destroy you as it destroyed me." Edeora woke up screaming, drenched in sweat. The words echoed in her mind, a grim prophecy she couldn't escape. Consumed by guilt and fear, Edeora confessed everything to her father one morning. Chief Chokudi was horrified, his love for his daughter shattered by her revelation. "How could you do this?" he cried, tears streaming down his face. "You've destroyed our family, Edeora. You've destroyed yourself." Unable to face the shame, Edeora fled the mansion and retreated to a small apartment in the outskirts of Lagos. There, she lived in isolation, tormented by memories of her mother and the life she had destroyed. Years passed, and Edeora grew older, her beauty fading under the weight of guilt and despair. She spent her days reading the Bible, seeking redemption that felt forever out of reach. One evening, as she sat by her window watching the sun set over the bustling city, she whispered a prayer, "Forgive me, Mama. Forgive me for letting jealousy blind me. I see now that love cannot be stolen. It must be earned, freely given." Her mother's spirit never appeared again, but Edeora felt a strange sense of peace that night. It was as though Ifeoma had finally forgiven her, though the scars of her actions would remain forever. Edeora's story became a cautionary tale in our community, a reminder of the dangers of envy and the destructiveness of selfish desires. Though she never found the love she yearned for, she learned that true love begins with selflessness and respect for others. In the end, Edeora lived a life of quiet penance, her story a lesson to all who heard it: love cannot be taken, it must be given freely, or not at all. Thank you all for watching. From the depths of my heart, I really appreciate you guys for watching and supporting me. Please, if you haven't subscribed, click on the subscribe button to do that. Turn on the notification button so that when I post the new interesting stories you will be the first to watch it. Please comment, like and share to your loved ones. See you in my next story.